The world can be a cruel place, and many children are lumbered with burdens they themselves never asked for. Truly, no child should suffer. But what about when children inflict suffering upon others, whether it be through outright fear, illness, or even death? For one group of children, this would seem to be a way of life. That is, of course, if they are even alive to begin with. Thought mainly to venture out at night, black-eyed children, also known as black-eyed kids or B.E.Ks, have become associated with strange deaths, hauntings, and have even been linked to the Men in Black. They have been seen all over the world, in many different countries, knocking on doors and windows, approaching people in secluded woodland areas, or whilst they are in their cars. They always ask to be let in, or to be given access to something their victim owns.
Please, you have to invite us in. We just need you to open that door. We're not going to hurt you. We're just kids.
Their most obvious characteristic is, unsurprisingly, their extremely dark and oversized eyes. Eyewitnesses often report them travelling in pairs, and are said to be struck with an inexplicable fear whilst in their presence. Accounts regularly state that they speak only in monotone, that they often seem to be in a trance-like state, gesturing repetitively, devoid of emotion, and otherwise barely engaging with the world around them, focused only on their victim. Questions have obviously arisen over exactly who or what these entities are, with theories ranging from the paranormal to the supernatural. Some even postulate that they are entirely human, but are suffering from some form of ocular disorder. So if B.E.Ks are human, and the black eyes are merely the result of a defect, do black-eyed children grow into adults? This is a much debated theory amongst investigators and internet forums, with witnesses themselves reporting considerably fewer black-eyed adult sightings. The experience of a middle-aged apartment manager, a woman from Portland, Oregon, USA, added weight to the idea that these children do indeed grow up. Due to her occupation, the 47-year-old woman often had to meet or open the door to people she had never met. However, one afternoon in 2004, she was approached by a youth who asked to access one of the properties. Said to have been between the ages of 16 and 18, the woman recalls being completely overcome by just how black his eyes were. Racked by fear, she remembers feeling how she was going to die. In the face of what she felt was extreme danger, she slammed the door in his face rather than inviting him in, and was in a state of distress for hours afterwards. Upon contacting her daughter for reassurance later that night, the woman came to learn about other B.E.K sightings. Indeed, there are a multitude of incidents involving black-eyed children reported within Portland itself. Whilst it is not known for certain, it is thought that black-eyed children may grow into black-eyed teens, and then black-eyed adults. In both the Bethel and Portland examples, the victims felt fear, almost as if they were under some form of psychological assault, and again, like Bethel, many other witness accounts describe a delay in even noticing the eyes are black at all. This has led some people to theorise that as B.E.Ks get older, they may develop the ability to hide the fact they have black eyes altogether. In contrast to the theory of these children developing into adults, there are claims from the United Kingdom that the same black-eyed child has been haunting the same area for the past 35 years. The woods at Cannock Chase, Staffordshire, are said to be haunted by 3 dead children, murdered by serial killer Raymond Morris in the 1960s, and chillingly, the black-eyed child in question, a young girl, alerts people to her presence by screaming for help until somebody comes to her rescue. The wider area of Staffordshire itself has become a hotspot for paranormal sightings and has become notoriously linked with black-eyed children, especially following the publication of a book by author Lee Brickley entitled UFOs, Werewolves and the Pigmen. One particular sighting at Cannock Chase Woods on the 10th of October 2015 drew worldwide interest when paranormal investigator Tom Buckmaster announced that he had caught a black-eyed child on camera. Reported in the national press, the short clip was filmed in the Staffordshire woodland at around 7 p.m. and shows a white silhouette in the distance. The outline is clear to see, but could this really be the same black-eyed girl first spotted back in 1982? The most recent spate of sightings is thought to have started back in 1996, when Brian Bethel shared his account online. His post on the forum Creepypasta is said to have scared and inspired an entire generation all at the same time. It also affirmed the existence of black-eyed children to others who had witnessed them, but had thought they were suffering from some sort of psychological episode at the time. Brian's account recalled events earlier that year, when he had attempted to post a check one evening at North First Street, Abilene, Texas. Two young boys, thought to be between the ages of 9 and 12, approached his car and knocked at his window. One of them explained how they had wanted to go and see a movie, but had left all their money at home. They asked Bethel for a lift, making an obvious effort to reassure him that they were just children and that they didn't live far away. Bethel was taken in by the boys' story, and especially their vulnerability, but just as he went to open his car door, he caught sight of their coal-black eyes. He was suddenly struck with an irrational fear as the boys became angry, ordering him to let them into his car. Understandably, he locked his doors and sped away. When he looked in his rearview mirror, the children were nowhere to be seen. Besides the eyes, Brian's description of the children was pretty unremarkable. One of the boys was said to be red-headed, pale-skinned and freckled, whilst the other was curly-haired and olive-skinned. Of the black eyes themselves, Brian described them as soulless orbs, like two great swaths of starless night. Following his post, the internet would prove a useful platform for like-minded people to share their own experiences. The number of other B.E.K sightings has grown rapidly in the past 20 years, perpetuated by the growth of social media, though contrary to what you may think, the phenomenon of black-eyed children is by no means modern. Encounters with B.E.Ks stretch back over a century or more, peaking in certain decades and then declining over time, but never quite disappearing altogether.
We need to use your phone, ma'am.
Hello?
We need to use your phone.
Hon, what are you doing out so late? Where are your parents?
They're worried about us. We need to call them.
Don't you have a cell phone?
Please, ma'am. My sister is scared.
Where do you live? Give me your home phone number and I'll call your parents for you. You know, I'll tell you what, I'll call the police and tell them that you need their help, and it'll only be a few minutes before they get here, okay?
There's no need to do that.
Dan!
Please, you have to invite us in. We just need you to open that door. We're not going to hurt you. We're just kids. If we wanted to hurt you, we would have broken in already. Let us in.
Please, ma'am.
Thank you. Come again.